What's good? You know what time it is. Rocking with your boy Czar, all rights reserved. This time we're going to get into the final suspect that is underway. And I actually say the final suspect, but as we know from details, there has to be another one. We've seen that there was multiple factors that added in and actually alleged to another situation that's probably going to bring us to a fifth man that was a mastermind in the situation. Now, part of what I'm also going to mention is, do you think that not only is this last suspect in danger, but these other guys may be in danger because of the fifth person being exposed? These are all factors that are going to play into the situation and help to develop the picture. Now, there's a little bit more to this. As we know, there's been much speculation around these occurrences, but also withstanding circumstances and many, let's say, abnormal incidents around it. And hold on, somebody's trying to run me over. Many incidents around the situation that haven't been explained through evidence. And we have these factors that are pending. Now, these pending factors that we're going to be taking a look at also develop around the story that we now see that these guys are beginning to seem more human and more humane than the situation they're being linked to. Does this pose a part in building their character to not be exposed the way that we know prosecution is going to come for it? Now, I'm thinking so. I'm thinking as the case develops, these individuals are not going to be seen as inhumane as they were made to seem through the details of the situation. Also, being that we know the witness, his credibility is in question. We no longer can use his testimonies. Not only that, he has not been questioned or implicated to be someone of interest in this situation. Now, this is very important because these were first on the scene individuals, let alone the female newscaster that has yet to be identified in any way, shape, or form. This is very troublesome. We've seen that when details are gathered in a case and what details have been released, the current ones that have not are the most disturbing. They usually release information regarding individuals if the case deepens in the way that we know it truly has, but it seems that they let a sleight of hand go and they prevent it from a situation of releasing information such as who's actually involved and what's actually going on. This is an important factor because we've never seen a case of this magnitude held back on, nor has it been slighted in the least. But they're slighting this case on information when they want to release most. But it's like what they're releasing is used to lead to a certain visual perception to create an outcome, but they're okay with not releasing other things that we'd like to hear. These are all factors that are going to play a part into defining the picture that we're looking to build, and it may build to a new picture to prevent us from seeing what actually occurred. These are instances where we can actually look that a plot twist is about to begin, and along with this plot twist, the individuals involved may differ and change as the case goes on. Now, as these people are labeled suspects, I now have concluded in my mind that someone is truly a fall guy. Part of why I conclude that is because of the simple phrase that Robert Allen used upon being caught about wanting to tell the truth, and him hinting basically that there was some type of instance that was viable in the situation, and there was a reasoning for him holding back on stuff he wanted to do and say. These are all factors that lead us to a broader picture, so we cannot broad stroke these men just because that they're written a certain way, because verbally them speaking for themselves or through their lawyers is how they're going to truly build a picture we're able to understand. This is key because these are the factors that are going to allow us to step past what's presented, truth and false, and then allow us to build a stronger view of what actually happened. Now, there are always variables in a situation, but the fact of the matter is we can never tell who's truly to blame. Now, the reason we can't tell who's to blame because there's factors surrounding his overall deceased nature, and by that I mean Tentacion, of the fact that we can't make conclusions upon him being deceased. The bloodless signature, the witness allegedly lying, separate individuals in the news station not being identified, as well as other parts concerning these suspects, why 2 were on the run and 2 were caught so readily, how the other one was already in their custody and they did not know until much later. These are all observational errors that could have occurred, yet there are many aspects that could build to a new picture. So again, we must stay objective without being conclusive in that. Again, I can only conclude that the witness was not telling the truth because of the contradiction he used, as well as false means he provided in his verbal statement, as well as no persecution or investigation by investigators on the type of individual he actually was, releasing some of the information he did through social media and it being deemed acceptable to society. And that means that's understandable, but being acceptable to authority without approaching the witness we called Victor to be questioned or interrogated in any manner, that should not have been kept private, being he made it public in the first place for millions to view. Usually what all officials do is they use social media to combat social media abusers. They did not in this situation. Now, could this have been a motivation of some other means? I do not know. That is why objectivity is a key part of this case. We also do not understand or know any other individuals on the outside that may be involved except the alleged uncles mentioned by the witness, who we deem not as true / cousin, released by social media by certain tweets and certain social media posts that were made public again. So these are also options that are up in the air for interpretation of some means. Now, this interpretation can be made in several different ways, although the main way would be the investigation / interrogation that investigators would have undertook that they have not yet for these individuals. So we do not know if they're letting them off the hook for what they've done, and we do not know if they have any alternative view or understanding of a probable criminal in this case. We do, however, know conclusively that there must have been a 5th man to make direct communication with them at all times. Another conclusive thing that we cannot bring into conclusion is whether or not Tentacion walked out of the store. That is a highly, very important critical piece. We have no video footage of him leaving on foot, nor do we have any footage of this witness making contact with Tentacion at any point in time. So we do not know if he never even seen Tentacion. He alleged to ask for a photo. He also alleged to make comments and interact with him in his comments on different product in the store, as well as saying he actually saw men jump out and claimed to go inside, but said he also heard the whole scenario that went down. We know this is not possible. It is either or. He could not have done both if he ran for intention of his own safety. These are things that we cannot conclude, but should be conclusive to make some type of indictment. It's a very scary time. Again, I have nothing against what's being said, but what I do know is that these things have not been made clear, and they're being used as articles of judgment and articles of indictment to solve a case with 4 suspects alleged to be involved in a crime. Now, we don't even know the evidence, whether circumstantial or not, that revolves around the case to even indict these individuals. All we know is that on social media they were flashing cash shortly after, but it was also alleged that the money was pulled in large bills, which were hundreds, versus using 20s that we seen in the picture being flashed. That adds even more speculation of an alleged inconclusive conclusion, if you want to put it that way. So with all of these factors in question, there's nothing seriously that can be said to define these individuals that are involved in the case. All we've seen is pictures put up and certain statements and phrases used by authority to describe these individuals. That does not mean they are actually the individuals who were involved and did commit the crime. And that's the problem. You can't just look at pictures of black men and say because this is what we think black men are, that they are responsible for this case. That is wrong. That is illegitimate. And my problem is prejudices should be put aside and objectivity placed first to actually give options to what could have actually happened. We've known this to be the case for a while. We've known that prejudgment is a large part of what investigations bring, and they are not always 100% correct, although I'm not saying they are wrong. So, again, while we're looking for this fourth suspect known as Trayvon Newsome, I ask everyone to keep an objective mind because evidence may twist and turn the way outcomes are truly made. So it's one thing for me to indict someone on a crime they did not commit with evidence that is not definitive, but it is another thing for there to be a totally different scenario and totally different individuals responsible for something. These are the things we must remember as going forward in the case, because as we've seen, there have been people in the past that have been indicted falsely off of conclusive evidence, and they have been pushed to be made to act a certain way because of definitive situations they did not deserve. These are all factors that we're looking at dealing with this fourth suspect and more suspects going forward. So in this case, everyone has their opinion in the comments below. Let me know what you think actually happened. And we're going to examine the evidence objectively. And then we're going to look for conclusive evidence that is not strictly circumstantial, but DNA related and without a doubt directly in correlation with the scenario that has been explained to us. The three viewpoints and perspectives we'll look at is the witness, the investigators, and then your opinion. You know how I rock. All rights reserved.